Welcome to this what if. Check the author out and sub anyway. Skshpi out. Hi, so yes, I decided to do spell checks and edits on the story. The plot has not to change, just the grammatical errors and spelling. February 9, 2021. Here is where I introduce the OC and their quirks and also clear up some background info. Izuku and Erie. Alias, Shatter. Quirk, reality manipulation. This quirk allows the user to bend and shift reality at their will. You know, a bit like Doctor Strange's powers, they are able to create a rift in space that lets them teleport. Teleport meaning they can appear at one side of a field or another. They also can change time with this quirk by bending the rift to bring the break a few hours. Drawbacks: this quirk takes a lot of concentration, mastery, and stamina. Just to be able to open a rift takes a lot of power. This quirk needs to be trained every day. And be used quite a bit. If not used for a week and then attempt to open a rift or bend reality can also create cool illusions. They will have a massive migraine. The other drawbacks for more serious cases are extreme sickness, a short coma, or if extremely bad death. In this, Izuku is not supposed to be super powerful. Songa Cosme. Gender, female. Alias, Soundwave. Quirk, Soundwave. Can create massive invisible waves of sound that can vary in pitch and sound. A lot like President Mike's quirk, only it doesn't come from her voice but her hands as well. Drawbacks: if overused can result in a massive headache, passing out, or vomiting. Alexazi, no last name. Gender, female. Alias, Blackout. Quirk, Black Cloud. Can create a black cloud basically, which can surround the user or the person they want it to surround. Drawbacks: the user gets nauseous with overuse. Katsuo Marituzu. Gender, male. Alias, Crow. Quirk, witch/wizard/person who can do witchy things, open-ended. Can do anything a witch can do. Again, whatever your ideas are, it's up. Drawbacks: some spells take more energy than others. Prologue. Izuku is currently at the age of 3. Izuku Pov. Screaming, that's all I hear. The screams of both my parents. Flashback. Izuku, honey, mommy wants you to go upstairs and hide in the secret compartment and not to come at no matter what you hear, got it? Yes, mommy, said a 3-year-old Izuku. His father was standing by the door. He had just gotten off the phone. Izuku knew something was up. He was quite intelligent for his age. I was also overly curious. He wants to know what was up. Why was mommy telling him to hide in the secret room in the back of the hall? Soon there was harsh biting on the door. He saw she open the door. You can't keep him from me forever. Never, my son isn't even here, so leave, Izuku father said through the door. Let me in, he saw she. Never, the pros are on their way, you will never get Izuku. Wrong answer. Izuku, go to the room now and don't make a sound and don't come out no matter what, not till the pros are here. Yes, mommy. Izuku ran. He bolted to the compartment at the end of the hallway. He opened the door and quickly but quietly slid in. He shut the door. The sad thing about the compartment was that it let in sound. It was connected to the vent system. He heard the screams of his parents. He waited for them to come get him. They never came. The man left. He heard the pros. He heard them say the terrible news. His parents were dead. They never found Izuku. And a flashback. I say, in that small room for hours. I just kept hearing their screams. I knew the pros came. I heard their voices. I hear so many hero videos that I know their voices. The heroes never found me. I stayed there in that small room for what felt like days. I cried. All I hear is their screams. Today was full of tragedy. Third person Pov. Today was not only the day Izuku lost his parents, it was also the day he lost faith in heroes. Izuku left the hidden room once he was sure it was night. He knew the police would be back. So he graves the back. His mom started to pack for him and unpacked it. It had all might all over the cloths, toothbrush, backpack, etc. He packed the clothes that had no heroes on them. As was stated before, he was smarter than most 3-year-olds. He was taught well. Once he was done, he graves 2 other things: a family photo and his mom's jade necklace. Those 2 things became his most prized possession. He looked around their home one last time. Then he added the jingle of keys and footsteps. The door opened and a man came in. "Hey kid, wah, hey wait kid." Izuku ran as fast as he could. He did look back till he got to the bad side of town, and that is why his story finally began. 13 years later. No one's above. The night is silent. The dark blanket wraps the world in comfortable silence. Nothing could be heard. These were the nights the pro liked. No villains, no people, and no problem children. Just the way he likes it. It was rare that he ever got any peace. He was a teacher during the day and a hero at night. It was a shocker that he even got sleep. He was told constantly by his husband that he needed to sleep. He never listened. He listens to nobody. He sighed. If only life was this peaceful. Villain attacks had dropped and no one knew why. The visual accounts of witnesses always said there was a black cloud. The most information was he had green eyes, and that was only from one villain. Everyone thought that the villain was seeing things. But he knew they were telling the truth. Why? Hello, Eraserhead. The pro turned and looked behind him. Because he was right there. Aizawa. This kid gives me a headache. What do you want? Not up for some sparring, I see. No. Oh well, what brings you up here on a peaceful night like this, Eraser? Nothing, problem child. The kid sits down. I make no move to capture him. I already know I won't. So peaceful, isn't it? Yes. The stars shone brightly. It reflected a bit on the green eyes of the kid. The shine reminding me of a certain quickless boy who helped me out in some classes. Why do you do this? You don't kill, you just capture, not like other vigilantes. Because Eraser, the world is loading faith in heroes. Your school has gotten attacked twice. Your students have had multiple near-death experiences. The world need people who they can rely on. The world cannot defend themselves. You heroes are the reason for that. You make normal people rely on you and then you don't even go save them. And I do believe you have a student who is quickless, am I wrong? No. And his parents were killed in a battle. Who fought again? Oh yes, Endeavor versus Void. I don't know, I'm sorry. All the boy said was true. To me, people could fight, but now they just wait for a hero to come and save them. And the villain attacks at the school have made it less popular. People are starting to pull their kids out. My class is starting to have doubts. And yet that young green-haired problem child always wore a smile. Looking at him, he could only be 13. Yet he has so much knowledge about the world. We sit in silence. We don't care if we had different beliefs. This vigilante was never killed. Yes, he is a pain in the, but I can't hurt him. The kid stood up. I must go, Eraser, enjoy your night. Bye, problem child. The kid turned to face me. He looked slightly annoyed. You could see it even though his last covers his face. How many times do I have to tell you? Call me to shatter, he pouted playfully before jumping. At UA. I'm in a dark room only lit up by the light of the computer. A small mouse man sat at a large desk. He couldn't help but watch this interaction between the two. He knew why Eraser didn't try and catch him. But the boy looked strongly familiar, but even he couldn't figure it out. In the void. All around, certain heroes were getting a message. Ding. Message from Shatter. Hello heroes. Catch me if you can. UA High School. No one's above. All the top heroes were gathered in one place to discuss one person. Shatter. As you've heard, there is a new vigilante. He goes by the name Shatter. He and his little group is responsible for many captured villains, but he is still a threat to heroes, spoke a small white noise figure. The heroes noted they all knew to Shatter. He was like a dick you couldn't get rid of. I assume you're all here because of the message. Yes, all of the heroes responded. I have 3 case files for all 3 vigilantes. I have been able to figure out their quirks and such, but not their real identities. Continued Nezu. Why only 3? I thought there was 4, asked Midnight. She was curious. One of the vigilantes was able to counterattack her sleeping gas. We have very limited knowledge on all of them, but we have bro knowledge on the one who calls himself Shatter," replied Nezu. Everyone was shocked. Nezu usually was able to find just about everything on anyone, but with these four it seemed that was not the case. All the heroes looked at the files. They got very little information. They only got the three's vigilante names and a bit of a description of their quirks. They cannot get the actual name of the quirks except one sound wave. Hers was a registered quirk. They only got the name and what it can do. 10 minutes later. "Well, it seems we have met our match. These vigilantes seem to be extremely strong, but that's nothing, we can't take them down," All Might said. "Tut, tut. You are on such a high throne, isn't Yaku Almighty?" So the heroes wiped around. They saw a girl with long gray hair flowing down to her waist. Here is her hero costume. It is the same style, only black where the blue is and dark grayish purple where the gray is and white the light blue is and bark bike where the blacks is. I do not own this. She was standing at the Yo High School. No one's pov. All the top heroes were gathered in one place to discuss one person. Shatter. As you've heard, there is a new vigilante. He goes by the name Shatter. He and his little group is responsible for many captured villains, but he is still a threat to heroes, spoke a small white noise figure. The heroes noted they all knew to Shatter. He was like a dick you couldn't get rid of. "I assume you're all here because of the message." Yes, all of the heroes responded. "I have 3 case files for all 3 vigilantes. I have been able to figure out their quirks and such, but not their real identities," continued Nezu. "Why only 3? I thought there was 4," asked Midnight. She was curious. One of the vigilantes was able to counterattack her sleeping gas. "We have very limited knowledge on all of them, but we have bro knowledge on the one who calls himself Shatter," replied Nezu. Everyone was shocked. Nezu usually was able to find just about everything on anyone, but with these 4 it seemed that was not the case. All the heroes looked at the files. They got very little information. They only got the three's vigilante names and a bit of a description of their quirks. They cannot get the actual name of the quirks except one sound wave. Hers was a registered quirk. They only got the name and what it can do. 10 minutes later. "Well, it seems we have met our match. These vigilantes seem to be extremely strong, but that's nothing, we can't take them down," All Might said. "Tut, tut. You are on such a high throne, isn't Yaku Almighty?" So the heroes wiped around. They saw a girl with long gray hair flowing down to her waist. Here is her hero costume. It is the same style, only black where the blue is and dark grayish purple where the gray is and white the light blue is and bark bike where the blacks is. "I do not own this." She was standing in the foyer. His light gray hair was stained in what all the heroes assumed was blood. The stench of blood began to fill the room. "Nezu? Soundwave. It's lovely to see you again, all of you. It truly is funny how you can't seem to find much out about us," Soundwave continued. "You don't seem to have a boss though, but I assume he is not always up front," replied Nezu, sipping some tea. "Our boss is none of your concern, though I have come to deliver a message," Soundwave lied, glaring at Nezu. "What message?" asked Gran Torino. "I think that's how you spell it. It's in the package. Don't worry, it isn't a bomb. Why would we wanna kill you when the fun has just begun?" And with that, she leaped out the window. None of the heroes followed. "Wow, some heroes you are." Nezu reached for the package. Midnight snatches it away. "What if she's lying?" defense. "We will never find out if we don't open it," was simply all Nezu said. Midnight handed it to him. They opened it and pulled out a piece of paper. They stared at it. All it said were their names and a small message at the bottom. "I know your secret, All Might. And he is alive. Shatter for way." His light gray hair was stained in what all the heroes assumed was blood. The stench of blood began to fill the room. "Nezu? Soundwave. It's lovely to see you again, all of you. It truly is funny how you can't seem to find much out about us," Soundwave continued. "You don't seem to have a boss though, but I assume he is not always up front," replied Nezu, sipping some tea. "Our boss is none of your concern, though I have come to deliver a message," Soundwave lied, glaring at Nezu. "What message?" asked Gran Torino. "I think that's how you spell it. It's in the package. Don't worry, it isn't a bomb. Why would we wanna kill you when the fun has just begun?" And with that, she leaped out the window. None of the heroes followed. "Wow, some heroes you are." Nezu reached for the package. Midnight snatches it away. "What if she's lying?" "Defense. We will never find out if we don't open it," was simply all Nezu said. Midnight handed it to him. They opened it and pulled out a piece of paper. They stared at it. All it said were their names and a small message at the bottom. "I know your secret, All Might. And he's alive. Shatter. Hello wonderful people. I hope you are enjoying the story so far. Anyways, this so a special chapter for not reason, just because I'm bored. Enjoy. So tell me again why you're late," said and damn very and annoyed looking Alexazzi. "And why the noose is just having a field day with this endeavor thing," as she gave the small green boy her famous death glare that would put Aizawa's to shame. "Well, you see there was a small crowds of heroes in the B-day middle of the street," replied the scared small boy. "And I may have seen them, and I saw Endeavor just standing there. So you thought it would be a good idea to run him over?" "Yes. Why?" "Well, he wasn't fighting the villain and he was in my way, so why not ran the high into a brick wall. It was funny." PFFFT hahaha. Sangha had made her way into the living room to where Izuku was getting scolded by Alexazzi. Even if Izuku ran the vigilantes, Alexazzi was the mom of the group. "I will let it go only because it was pretty funny," she replied, smiling at Izuku. "Yeah, that one hit sure did a lot of damage." "Whoever said it was only one hit?" asked Izuku. "I got him like 4 times and then for the fit made it very slow and painful." "I think I saw Present Mix laughing reply to Izuku. Let's just say Endeavor is out of commission due to several broken and a major concussion. Still. No one's POV. No, this can't be happening. How is he alive, and how do those, or well, how does he know he's alive?" These were the thoughts running through All Might's head. "All Might, calm down, we can't know if it's entirely true," Midnight stated. "She right no was trying to calm aggravated All Might. But. No buts, sit down and clam down, we don't have time. That girl Soundwave of what her could have been lying, trying to make you like this so you're easier to take down." Midnight was not up for an argument. She needed beauty sleep. She had enough wrinkles already. "Now I know you all want to continue talking about this, but I need to leave. I have class tomorrow and the beats are annoying enough," Midnight stated, standing up and fixing up her costume. "I also have to see the problem children tomorrow and go on patrol," stated Eraserhead. He was not in the mood for this. None of the teachers knew he had been with the vigilantes before. He knew the girl Soundwave would never lie. He also had very good instincts and could tell almost all the time when someone was lying to him. "Alright, I know it is late. Everyone must go home and sleep. If he is indeed alive, we must all be well rested for the morning and for the future. We must train all the students twice as hard, including the first years. They have seen more villain attacks than most and should be more than prepared." The principal paused for a second. He thought he saw a hooded figure holding what looked to be a crow. He shook off the feeling. "Good night to all of you." Soon the teachers began to file out. And soon Nezu was left alone in his office. Nezu, being the smartest being, always could tell if someone was there, but now it felt as though a blanket of smoke had been set in his brain. It was as though his brain wasn't working at its fullest. Which it wasn't. Perched outside the window, hidden by the shadows, sat a man. Or what you could mistake as a man. He had black hair with the case of white at the end. The moon had no light, so you could not see him. But what was most odd was the crow that day on his shoulder. The figure leaped out of the tree as soon as Nezu left and turned out the lights. Plan A was in motion and they would keep it in motion. It was dark and cold. Cold. That's all he could feel. He walked down the hallway. For some reason it was just there. Calling to him. Calling him to search the forbidden room. Just as he reached the door, about to twist the handle, his eyes opened. Warm sunlight spilled out through the curtains. He sighed. One of these days he would see what was behind that door. To see what secrets it kept from him. The knowledge it denied him. But today was not that day. He sat up, giving himself a nice stretch. Suddenly a small girl came bursting into his room. Some may mistake her for a child. Everyone usually does. Even he did. "So you need something, Alex, is he asked. The girl's purple-pinkish hair was tied in a high ponytail. What she looks like, or well, her hair looks like. I do not own THSI. Well, sorry boss, I just thought I needed to wake you up. It is 7:15 in the morning. Normal kids wake up at this time, replied the small child. Well, small child, I stayed up till 3 a.m. working on the next phase. We both know Aizawa is getting suspicious. 1. Stop calling me small child. 2. You need to get ready for school. 3. He may be getting suspicious, but at least he doesn't know that secret. Yeah, you're right, as always, the boy in this conversation replied. The small girl gave him a smirk. Small child. I told you to stop calling me that, boss. And I will stop calling you that when you stop calling me boss. TCH dumbass. What did you say to me, you little brat comebacker? And with that their morning began. Usually need with Alex as he getting squashed by boss. As he tried back up the stairs, he got lost in his thoughts. How much did the pro suspect? Would their plan succeed? Would his train of thought was cut off as he bumped into a tall boy with bags under his eyes and black hair. Morning, said the boy. 0 morning to you, Takatsuo. How was the meeting? Boring, they don't suspect a thing. Good. Oh, and Izuku, make sure to stop showing yourself. It's hard to make sure they don't suspect. Okay, Natsuo, have a nice sleep. Izuku continued up the stairs. As he reached his room, he noticed a picture. On it stood a smiling white-haired girl. Her red eyes stared back and the smile on her face was huge. His short 2-year-old self was being held by himself, while the 3 others surrounded him. The looks of love directed at the small child. See happy. God, he missed her. His little Erie. School was inevitably the worst thing Izuku ever did. He was smart for his age. He worked at a college level most of the time, mostly because the teachers were to visit to give him harder work. If you didn't know, Izuku went to UA as school for aspiring heroes. Working takes their own goals. He hates it. He hates the people, the school, the teachers, pro heroes, besides a few. He hated it all. Society sucked. He had been bullied to succeed by someone who wants to be a hero. Newsflash, they're in the hero course. Surprise surprise, Bakugo Katsuki. Izuku hated him, but he also cared for him. He knew that it wasn't entirely his fault for the way he was, but still. He had been his best friend. Now he's his bully. Everyone kind of bullies him at UA. Besides a few people. Our sweet Izuku has had to hold back from strangling 2 kids. Izuku is called weak, stupid, useless and many more horrible things from home other than the school's students. Most of the people are pretty nice. Most of them don't even know him, which he is fine with. But the people that do know him either hate him, ignore him, or try and help. Izuku has had to refrain from screaming at the top of his lungs, I have a quirk. His quirk is too powerful. If it fell into the wrong hands, the world would suffer. Izuku's job at UA is to help the teacher, more or less Aizawa. Izuku was put in the school by the principal. Natsu's reason was, you have to go of a mind that should not be wasted. He hates the principal now. He was told to lie and say he had a quirk, but it was an analytical quirk. But before he could say anything, Mr. Angry Pomeranian ruined it. Now his life sucks. What sucks even more is that he has to be the nice, sweet, mind Izuku. He can't be sarcastic, he can't threaten anyone. UA sucks. Izuku trudges up the stairs to Class 1A. He helps with that klaji most. He breathes in and out twice and throws on a fake smile. To help he goes, he thought as he opens the door. Izuku above. I opened the door. I truly wished I didn't. I think the universe hates me. Inside the room is what usually happens, only twice as bad. Turns out the class decided to do a Pokemon battle for both their free periods. I got this idea from a TikTok. It looked like half of the room was electrically charged while part of the other half is partly on fire and the other side completely frozen. All the student froze when the door opened. I think for a second they saw my real reaction. Anger. I shoot all of them a flare before quickly putting on an innocent shock face. God, I hate my life, I thought. Good morning guys, let's talk about what you are doing. The faces of the students were priceless. He just say Aizawa came back to a clean classrooms with Izuku teaching. Not that he came back to a classroom with 2 kids, 2's up and 1 knocked out. Yes, let's believe the happy reality. And not the one where the class is a bit afraid of the quirkless boy. Hello people. I decided to do 2 chapters today because the information in both doesn't really matter too much to the story besides the Erie part. Hope you enjoyed All Might. The number 1 hero, the symbol of peace. The number 1 hero was afraid. He was afraid of the vigilante group. He was afraid of what they knew and how they knew it. But he couldn't show it. He had to put on a brave face. He had to not be scared. Even when he was. Nezu knew something was up with Aizawa. He just couldn't out his finger on it. Aizawa was one of the people he struggled to figure out. Aizawa had a way of hiding all of his emotions. Probably due to his past. Nezu knew that Aizawa knew something, he just didn't know what. Today was a quiet day for them. A normal day. There he sat. A lanky make with stringy pale blue hair. And a hand covering his face. He sat there in silence. The rest of the league was out. No, he could sit in his thoughts. Be at peace for a while. But he couldn't. He knew there was someone there. Well, not there but someone there in the back of his mind. He felt it. He could not push off the feeling of being watched. Tired, that's what he felt, dealing with kids who wanted to be heroes, hurt. Physically and mentally. Most picked on him because he was quirkless. Nobody wanted to be his friend. Which he was fine with. He didn't need them anyway. He was a feared vigilante. He sat alone outside. His thoughts drifted to Erie and her sweet smile. Her beautiful red eyes. If only he had been able to save her. He knew she was alive, he just didn't know her. It was quiet. The night was still. No sound or movement was made. His scarf swayed in the wind, blowing to and fro. His long black hair moving in the light breeze. The night was too still. Then all that could be heard was the sound of banging. It shocked the pro. He listened once again. All he could hear was the drip of water. He shook it off. He wanted to go investigate, but he heard a scream in the opposite direction. He turned and fled. Say the sound. He wanted to look back. He couldn't. If only he would have been able to prevent the future. The best got away again. Now another person to kill. Why can't people each a stupid 6-year-old? She's small. A man in a bird mask thought. He was walking around the base towards the testing room. He opened the door. There in the room was walls filled to the brim in equipment. TSK. Where is she off to now? The sound of bare feet echoed along the pavement. Her breathing was heavy, but she knew she couldn't stop. He had managed to get the tracker off of her. Considering that she had to cut it out of her skin. The dripping of blood. She wanted to scream but she couldn't. She ran to look for the one person she knew. She ran to find the one person she trusted. Wait for me. Please remember me. Izuku. Aizawa's Pov. I don't get played enough to do this, I thought, making my way into the teacher's lounge. Today had been Hikari. I had to pull apart a fight, well, mostly a one-sided fight. Bakugo vs Midoriya. It wasn't really a fight, mostly because Izuku is quirkless. Not that I saying he's useless, just that the kid is way too sweet for what he has been put through. Anyways, Bakugo was going on about his whole rant about how he was going to be number 1 blah blah blah. And Izuku was ignoring him, also known as doing his job. He was looking over quizzes like I had asked him, and he just walked right by Bakugo. Let's just say the poor kid has a bit of a scare. As I step into the teacher's lounge, I make myself a cup of coffee. The downside of being an underground hero is that I have a messed up sleep schedule. I look up from making my coffee and see a small green-haired boy walk in. His eyes are down. I can't tell if he is crying, but I can see he is hurt. I see him sit down and this kid pulls up the side of his shirt. My heart breaks. On his body there are multiple burns. One looks pretty recent. It looks like a bit of the skin is charred and it is angry red. The kid puts his hand on it and I see him wince. His eyes are starting to water. I feel like I should leave and let him be, but I can't. This kid to me is like a son. I don't usually show affection of any kind except to my husband, but this kid is one of the sweetest people I know. I wish over to him, my dad instincts kicking in. He looks up in shock and is about to speak, but I shake my head. Third person Pav. Aizawa crouched down and looks at the burn. He was right, it was bad. Meanwhile Izuku is trying to push Aizawa away. He can't show weakness, he can't cry. Izuku Pav. Mr. Aizawa grabs my wrist. I visibly flinch from the touch. You see, I don't have the best track record with adults. I have been bullied all my life by both adults and kids alike, all because I had to fake I didn't have a quirk. Adults are usually the ones that hurt me when their kids aren't around. I remove this one time where I had pushed a kid and I never bothered to again. Haha, you're such a Deku. Yeah, you're useless, and useless people need to be taught a lesson. I was 7 that day. I had just gotten to the park and I wanted to play in the sad box. The kicking to Izuku started. He couldn't cry. That's what they wanted. They soon bit a burn that Kachan had given him 2 days earlier. It was 2nd degree, it hadn't finished healing. They saw me wince in pain and decided to keep kicking me in that spot. I couldn't deal with the pain anymore. I pushed them away, causing them to fall over. The parents had been watching the entire time. They had seen the kids but me fist, but when they saw me push their kids they stood up. You useless brat, why would you push our kids? Shouted a woman with almond brown hair and piercing blue eyes. Yeah, you're just a quirkless brat. And hurting out kids will not go unpunished, cried more parents. One last used her quirk. It gave her the power to hear thing up, aka thermal energy. Another woman had water manipulating, those two worked together. In the end Izuku was bright red and was steaming. He was slightly burned. He was starting to blister. It was late. Nobody would come and find him. His mother was dead, his father was at work for the week. He had only one choice. Use his quirk. UK. Izuku. Izuku. I jumped. I realized I had been lost in my own thoughts. Aizawa was looking at me in concern. I looked at him. Yes? I ask/say. I asked you a question. Did this happen when Bakugo hit you with his quirk earlier today? He asked. No. Then when did it happen? It doesn't matter, I respond, looking anywhere but at him. I don't want him to see the fear and the pain in my eyes. I didn't want his pity. It does matter. Tell me, when did this happen? He responds, his voice is full of general concern. Why do you care? I'm just a quirkless nobody. In the end I don't matter, I say back. I can feel the years streaming down my face. I may be the leader of a vigilante group, but that doesn't mean I don't feel pain or fear of sadness. I am only human. Like everyone else, no matter what. Even if I'm seen as less. It does matter, and you are not useless, and you do matter. Without you my life would be more chaotic. Don't let anybody's weave tell you you are useless or worthless. I look at him afraid. He said that the only person who has ever said that was my mom, and she has been dead since I was 5. Now tell me, when did this happen? He tell me again. Just before I came in here. I was on my way from the bathroom and someone hit me with a explosion and fire. I say. I caved in. I think I can trust him. I may speak with him when I am a vigilante, but that doesn't mean I trust him. Maybe I can start. He grabs my wrists. He drags me out of the teacher's lounge and down the hall up to the recovery girl's office. I try and pull my wrists out of his grasp, but I will tell you that man has an iron grip. I mean, I'm pretty small, so it's usually not hard for me to get in and out of small and right places. But this man, he had the grip that could crush anything. As in pulled into recovery good room, he pulls me into a bed and sets me down. He then makes his way to the other side of the room. And wakes up recovery girl. He tell her what happened. I have never been more scared in my life. This woman. This little old woman looks like she could kill. She heals me up though and scolds me for not coming to get right away. I don't mind, I'm just glad I don't have to heal myself. I'm not going to go into that process. As I leave the room, Aizawa comes up behind me and pays my head. Tell me next time, kid, I'm here to help. Thank you, I say. As walk off, I have one thought. Maybe he isn't so bad. Blood. That's the stench that rose from the alleyway. It covers the walls and the ground. It was a wonder nobody smelled it. 7 bodies lay on the floor. A girl in a schoolgirl outfit was liking a knife. Hey, thank you for the blood, my dears, she said as she looked on her back. All of her syringes were full. Yo crazy, it's time to go, yelled a man. He had spiky black hair with purple scars on his face and arms. The girl in the schoolgirl outfit ran up to the man and they disappeared into a black hole. Tears fell from her pale face. Her white hair covered her face as she silently cried. She had made her way into an overgrown forest. She felt alone. She tried to remember the words Izuni used to tell her. And the song he used to sing to her. But all she could feel was the pain. Blood ran down her leg. She had met Eaton in months. She had escaped overhaul a long time ago and she was picked up by lab people. She spent a year or so there. She missed her brother. She was only 3 when she last saw him. When she was ripped away from him and forced into experiment after experiment. She missed him. All she wanted to do was tell him she was okay. The trees were scary. All she heard was the noise. Then she heard footsteps. And all she could do was run. Did you find the girl? Asked a man with a hand on his face. No handsy that girl Jasanak for getting away from people. She improvement gets it from her brother. We need the girl, she could be a great asset to the league and a good bargaining chip to her brother, stated the man with the hand on his face. Yeah we know, but for now we have to plan our next move on the heroes, said the man with black spiky hair. For once I agree with you, Dobby. The first battle is coming and we will get his quirk and we will take over the heroes. Better be prepared. Whatever you say, Shigaraki. 5 miles away. Shatter, hurry, we can't get caught by a racer. I know Soundwave, but he keeps coming. Use your quirk please. No. Damn it, Shatter, you're going to get caught. Alright, fine. And right before a racer's eyes they disappear. Ow. Izuku, you okay? Asked Songa, pausing in her knife organizing. Songa is a bit like Toga with the knife craze. I'm fine, just a slight headache from making a portal and making it look like we just disappeared, I said with slight iteration. Okay geez, I'm sorry you had to use your quirk, but you need to use it, Songa replied, going back to polishing her knives. Never mind, I'm going to bed, I said, making my way the stairs. Okay, good night. Night. I trudged up the stairs, passing picture after picture. I passed Erie's. I didn't spare it a glance. I made my way to my room. I went and started to plan out our next move. I've put usually go out so I can keep my identity safe. As it nears 2 a.m. my eyes begin to feel extremely heavy. Maybe I'll just close them for a second, I thought. Soon I was plunging into darkness. I'm sorry ma'am, but your son is quirkless. No, he can't be quirkless. If he's quirkless then he's useless. Mommy, can I still be a hero? No. Kachan, I'm quirkless. Look, it's useless, Deku. Why are you my child? I never asked for someone so useless. Smack. Why don't you take a swan dive of the roof and hope you get a quirk in your next life? I bolted awake. Sweat dripping down my head. I look and see I am still at my desk. I stand up and make my way to a closet. I open it. Inside there's only one thing. A photo. Izuni, look at me, I see you, Erie. Izuni, help me. I'm Kamangiri. Ah. I blink. I reach for the photo. It's old and dusty. In the photo it's sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky. 5 of us are standing. 2 of the 3 girls was doing weird poses while the other smaller girl was just smiling, her red eyes glimmering. A boy with black hair stood smiling. Not a big smile but one to show that he was happy. Then there was me, holding the small red eyes girl. It was supposed to be a nice day. A day to celebrate. Instead it was the day where everything went wrong. Help me. I'm coming, Erie. Bother. Screaming was all that could be heard. A small girl with white hair and red eye was thrown over a man's shoulder. He wore a bird mask. He grabbed the small girl by her hair. She was coughing and crying and screaming. Looking around, principal not tell that this was a park or that it had once been a cloudless day with the sun shining brightly. All you could see was smoke and fire. The rubble from broken buildings lay around. Playground equipment broken, melted or gone. A boy with green hair lay beneath. A large amount of concrete. Blood flowed from his head. The small white-haired girl was trying to reach for the boy. She saw all the blood. She knew he couldn't help her. No. The man dragged her away. Her tears falling to the ground. No one could hear her. The one person she though could save her was most likely dead. Soon the smoke were too much for her to handle. And darkness swept over her. All the tests. She hated them. They said they were trying to save people. That she was a monster. She grew to hate needles. She grew to hate the man who took her from her beloved brother. All she did was die. Every day being brought back. She still held on to hope though. The only times she was happy were when the darkness took a hold of her and kept her mind safe. The darkness was like an escape from reality. An escape from the reality she was in. People always said sleep caused the nightmares. But really it was being awake that scared her the most. The only thing that kept her going was her family of misfits. The mean man walked in. He called himself Overhaul. He was always kind to her. He tried to make it seem like he was asking, but really it was just threats, empty words, and demands. She stood up and walked with him. Her long white hair flowed at her sides. Soon he took her to the lab. And grabbed her. It will only hurt for a second, he always told her. She screamed in pain. But soon the friendly darkness took her into its grasp and she let go of that reality. A small white-haired girl ran. She had to get away. More people were after her. She ran and ran until she stumbled into a man. She had run into his legs. She looked up. All she could see was long black hair. And she heard the words. Words that she had always wanted to hear. Are you okay? Do you need help? Why yes. That was the last word that allows out before darkness consumed her. Izuku woke up on the floor. His face was stiff and sticky from crying. His limbs ached from sleeping on the hardwood. He stumbled upright. His knees hurt from being cramped under him. He looked on the ground. He saw pictures littered it. 2 tears escaped his eyes before he blinked and began to clean up. When he was done he sat on his bed. The green walls had the illusion that they were moving. He stared at his ceiling. The green galaxy was moving around. He stuck his hand up and pulled. It began to pull towards him. The room looked to be collapsing on itself. It was flowing in on itself. Twisting and turning. Soon the galaxy surrounded the room. Making it look like it had flowing in through the door. His desk was on the roof, his bed in the middle. He was floating. Suddenly his door burst open. Izuo, really, are you trying to give me a headache? Katsuo stood there. He had a crow on his shoulder. Well, it was on his shoulder now. It was flying around. The room looked messy. Okay fine. He let go of the pull in his mind. Everything went back to normal. Izuku, get your lazy ass up. Okay, I'm up, yes. And the day started as it normally would. Expect. Sir, the girl will wake up in 2 to 3 days. Thank you. On a small bed lay a girl with a horn. Around her neck lay a bluish-green necklace. As the man turned away, a soft green glow emitted from it. And in the flow you could see a picture. A moving one. Of a boy with green hair spinning around a girl with white like a music box. And it slowly turned just for a second until it faded away. Emotion. A power that makes you feel. A power that gives you in ways a purpose. Nobody knows how they came about, but people never question. Emotion. Something Alex says he doesn't put time into. Emotion. Something Katsuo hides. Emotion. Something Songa dreads. Emotion. Although Izuku wishes he lost a long time ago. When he jumped. Izuku always knew Katsuki Bakugo. They were childhood friends till they were 4. Then that friendship shattered when Izuku lied. He had to. The doctor told him to. His quirk is powerful. If a villain got it he would be dead. So he lied. And he wishes he never did. A small book lay on his desk. He had not noticed it. He had just come up from breakfast with the gang. He picked up the book. It was charred and burnt but he could still make out the words. Hero Analysis for the Future number 13. His heart stopped. He remembered this. He remembered the day he was told to kill himself. The day he was told he could never be a hero. And the day his mother died. He tossed the book. He didn't need it. He picked up his bag and left for the day. Insert phone ringing. What now? I'll be right back. Izuku, you take over for a little while. Okay, Mr. Aizawa. Outside the classroom. Yes, hello, who is this? This is the hospital, sir, regarding the girl. Has she woken up? No, sir, but there's something weird going on. What is it? There's nothing wrong with the girl, it's just there's this strange thing coming from her necklace. And that is. It's like a recording of her and a boy playing, but the thing is. Yes? Get back here, miss, come back. I'm sorry, sir, the girl just ran off. Beep. So summary of Izuku past is that all the events in the first episode happened except he never got one for all. And he front fight the alive villain. He went home and found his mother dead. He became a vigilante and met Alex's fist, then Katsuo and the Songa. They all came from abusive homes or some FKUPST. Also all the villain attacks did happen and the training camp was actually a field trip, not a summer camp. Also Erie was captured by Overhaul but she escaped on her own. Miro is One for All's new holder. Okay, if you have any more questions please ask. Positive view. I was floating in a quiet dark abyss. It was neither cold nor warm. I'm calm. I'm at peace. There is no people here. There is no fear, pain, sadness, and anger. I am at peace. I'm just floating in a ball of darkness. I open my eyes. Slowly. The bright light makes it hard to see. I try to sit up. Pain shoots through my back and legs and arms. I told my head. My arms at bandaged. Same with my legs and back. I look around. In 2 chairs sat 2 men. One with black hair and looked a bit like a hobo and another with blonde hair which was styled to look a bit like a banana. The one with black hair was cuddled up in the blonde one's arms. They look so cute. I stood up and noticed that I was restricted. I saw cords connected to me. I pulled them off. One of the boxes went off. It made a loud beeping noise. Both of the men looked up suddenly. Aizawa. Beep. I knew what that sound was. Both me and my lovely husband looked up. We saw a small girl with white hair and a horn on the side of her head a few feet away from us. The nurses and doctors rushed in. The girl looked terrified. She cowered when they tried to touch her. Mike stood up and went towards the small girl. The doctors had moved out of his way. Seeing as he was hero, he whisper-talked to the small girl. She nodded and then curled up in his arms. He saw sheep of. I walked up to the small girl. She looked so terrified. The doctor said she multiple signs of abuse. She had scars littering her arms and legs. And she was so pale. She looked at me and all I could see was fear. She was shaking and silent tears rolled down her face. The doctors and nurses parted and let me through. The small girl seemed to shrink in on herself. I crouched down. Hey little listener, I know you're scared but these doctors want to help you, could you come here please, they won't hurt you. You promise they won't hurt me? Her voice sounded harsh like her vocal cords were strained from constant screaming. I nod my head, I promise. I opened my arms, she slowly got up and walked into them. She gripped my shirt with an iron grip. I set her on the hospital bed. My husband walked over to us, she shrank away. I'm not going to hurt you, we just need to ask you a few questions, he said. The small girl nodded. She seemed to relax. So the first one and the only one you have to answer for right now, what is your name? My name is. She seemed to struggle with it. Like she didn't want us to know what her name was. It's okay, you can tell us. Erie. My name is Erie. Well Erie, that will be all for right now. We understand that you have been through a lot, so we will leave you be. As Aizawa and Heizashi stood up, the small girl leaped up from the hospital bed and tightly gripped Aizawa's leg. Please don't tell, leave me. What if HEC comes? Both the men looked at each other. This 7-year-old was obviously terrified. She seemed to fear doctors quite a bit, so that suggested that she was experimented on. Heizashi tried to pry the small girl off of his husband in an attempt to pick her up. They only resorted to her tightening her grip, causing Aizawa to have to lift her up. As soon as he did this, Shikelo gripped his shirt. This small child has an iron grip. Even after she fell asleep, they were unable to remove her. The couple realized that they had to take this small, problem child because she refused to 1. Let go of Aizawa, and 2. She would have a panic attack every time the doctors got near her. They decided to take her to UA. The hospital didn't seem to mind. They honestly had quite a bit going on. For one, the League of Villian or Love had attack a lot more. I'm hopes to kill a few heroes, or now the vigilantes. Since Villian attacks had been more frequent, more people had been getting hurt, causing that hospitals to be spread pretty thin. Erase Pov. I woke up in a room. It was not a hospital, but it did look a lot like one. For starters, there were beds that looked like the ones at the hospital. I heard a clatter and a bang. And I see a small old woman bend down to pick up a tray of what looked to be bandages. She turns towards me and sees that I'm awake. She smiles. I see you are up, my dear. How did you sleep? Gee, good, I reply. She smiles again. She wobbles out of the room. I turn and see sunlight coming through a large window. The curtains are blowing in the wind. The sweet smell of something is coming through the windows. I turn away from the window to see the little old woman coming towards me. I start to shake. She is holding something in her hand. Maybe needles. I don't know, and I don't want to find out. As I was about to get up and make a run for it, the woman sets a hand on my shoulder. I flinch. I notice she wasn't holding needles, but one red and one green disc. She hands them to me. I just stare at them. They felt squishy. Me trying to explain, gummies, bear with me. The old woman chucked and then gently grabbed one of the discs and plopped it into my mouth. It tasted good. It was nice and chewy but sweet. I get energy course through me. I plop the other one in my mouth. I look at her. She's smiling. Have you ever had anything sweet before? She asked. Her time was sweet and kind. A lot like Banana Man. What I say, looking at her confused. What is this sweet they talk about? If it's like that thing I just ate, I want more of it. Candy dear, like what you just ate? I try to think back. I go back to a time, or well, a memory of me and Song the Chan went trick or treating. I nod my head. Why yes, I had candy before I was taken, I reply. The woman smiles. All of a sudden a man bursts through the door. Banana Man, I cry. Both the old woman and Banana Man looked startled. Another man is standing behind him. Hobo Man, I say again. Not the old woman and Banana Man laugh at him. The banana-haired one started to scream. And the hobo did some crazy thing and made him be quiet. Hello again, Erie, we wanted to ask you a few more questions, would that be alright? Asked a mouse-looking man. He was smaller than the two others. So I had not seen him. I nod my head. The three step closer to me. First question, so you remember the day you were taken? Asked the mouse man. I nod my head. Can you tell us? I nod my head. I went to a park, I think, with my brother and my other siblings. It was a nice day. Then something happened and there was a lot of screaming and fighting and fire. A man with a bird mask attacked. He hurt Nini-chan bad. He couldn't save me. In was taken by the woman man. They people looked shocked. Erie, can you tell us what happened with the mean man leading up to the point where you ran into Shota over here? I nod my head again. Well, I was kept in a dark bedroom. Mean man would come and do tests saying that my quirk was dangerous and that I was a monster and that I deserved everything that's happening to me. He would kill me over and over again. Then he would reform me with his quirk. I managed to get away. I ran and ran. I don't really know what happened, all I know is I ran for days until I ran into other people. It was a man with scars and some weird girl. I ran, I was scared. I don't remember anything after that, only that I bumped into you, she said, this whole pointing at Aizawa. The men looked shocked. Their faces were contorted in weird ways. They were hard to read, the only emotion I could read was anger. I then asked a question. See, can you take me to Nini-chan? Who? Izuni. Who is Izuni? Asked a very confused Heizashi. Izuni is Izuni, replied Erie. The cold had been given a lolly and was happily enjoying it. But who is Izuni to you? Asked Nezu, aka Mouse Man, who had a suspicion on who the Izuni was. My older brother. He tried to save me from Mean Man, but he was nearly killed in the process, replied a clammy. She may have been young, but she knew about death. She herself has been killed for many years only to be brought back and then killed again. What do you mean nearly killed? Asked a very annoyed Aizawa. He was tired and had not had his 7th cup of coffee, so he had very little patience. Well, when the mean man was dragging me away, I saw big rocks on top of him. He was trying to grab me, but he was trapped, replied. She was very sad. She had not seen her brother since she was 4. She is 7 in this. She knew he wasn't dead. At least she hoped he wasn't. My dear, your brother is most likely dead. He could not have serviced whatever had happened, Nezu said. He knew the event she was talking about. No, he has to be alive, he has to be. He's the only family I have left. His quirk wouldn't let him die. He's not dead. Erie was now in the process of pain and fear. These people had to be lying. Izuni had to be alive. He can't be dead. What about Katsuo, Alexazi, and Songa? They wouldn't have let him die. All these thoughts were running through the small girl's head. She was unresponsive to any of the adults in the room. She had only one thought on her mind. Run. She ran. She bolted out the door. She had no idea where she was going. This was too familiar. Too much like him. Wasn't going to go though that pain ever again. She would rather die permanently. She heard the teachers calling her. And saw a student turning to look at her. She focused her eyes on the path ahead. She saw someone get in front of her path. She tried to stop. She collided with the person. She stumbled to the ground. She looked up and saw. He was blurry, but she knew who it was. He turned around. His moppy mess of green hair was still the same. She looked down at her. Surprise was all he could muster at this point. She wiped her tears. She saw him clearly. He had crouched down a bit. She saw tears falling down his freckled face. He embraced her. She gets safe. She cried. She clutched onto him. Not ever going to let him go. You're okay, Erie, no one's going to hurt you. You're safe, he mutters kind things to her. The teachers stopped and watched the scene in front of them. What the small girl said next had shocked them. I missed why you. Izuni. Izuku Spav. I can't believe it. My little sister. Is here. And I'm hugging her. It isn't fake. It isn't a dream. Or is it? Ouch, I cried. I saw Erie pull her hand down from my hair. Nope, not a dream, because that hurt. Izuni, are you okay? She asked softly. I'm fine, Erie, I missed you. I pull her in for another hug. I then look up. Shit. I saw Mr. Aizawa. Shit, 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 shit. Judging by his face, I could tell none of his thoughts. I mean, that man only cracks a smile, or in any case shows any sort of emotion, when he sees a cat/cat video. I look over to his left and see Mr. Mike. He was smiling and also crying. I look over to the left of Mr. Aizawa. Principe. Nezu is standing there. He, like Aizawa, has a non-readable face. But his eyes give away a bit of curiosity. It chills my bones. I look at Erie, who has pulled away from me. I look at her face. Her tear-stained face. I wipe away stray tears. I miss her on her head. I then glance at her arms. Anger rises in me. I see countless scars through the bandages. I will kill whoever hurt her. I will erase whoever did this to her from existence. I will. Mr. Montoya, I think we have some things to discuss in my office. Come, bring you sister with you to, said Nezu. I stand up. Erie makes the up motion. The others will be so happy to see her. I follow the three teachers. There are very few people in the hall. My job here is a basic assistant. I'm also sort of a student. I don't do the hero course, but I am part of their class. While Class 1A is doing hero training, I'm either helping out or with Nezu. So not really an assistant. As we made our way to Nezu's office, I notice Erie nodding off. I miss her forehead again. A soft smile makes her way to her face. Just as we stop outside of Nezu's office, Erie's breathing had evened out. I enter the office last. I see a small couch. I lay Erie down. I take off my blazer and cover her with it. No one's above. It did not go unnoticed by the three adults the affection the young boy showed to his sister. Nor did it go unnoticed the anger that burned in his gaze when he saw her scars. Teachers picked up a bit of muttering from the boy. The two words that got were erase and existence. Something about the way he said it made them feel he wasn't going to let it go anytime soon. The three adults took dear around the couch. Izuku had settled himself on the couch with Erie's head on his lap. Young girl looks a piece to the three adults. Not as she had in the hospital and RG room. A few seconds of awkward silence dragged on. Izuku felt as though he was being interrogated. He worried that Erie had made a slip-up about him. He had been a vigilante since she was 3. So we would like you to answer some questions, said a very curious Nezu. Go ahead, replied Izuku. He was not going to give away his fear. He put in a smile. Nezu sensed the fear radiating off of him. First question, what is your relationship with Erie, asked Nezu. He was going to start off simple. She is my little sister. She has lived with me since she was 2, which is when both of our parents died. She was taken from me by a man on her 4th birthday, answered Izuku. He seemed tense to Aizawa. Nezu was more focused on his reactions while Aizawa read his body language. Who was she taken by? Asked Mike. He was very concerned for the two. He thought of Izuku as a son in some ways, and he also saw the scars on the small girl. He was disgusted by whoever did this. Well, the day on her 4th birthday she was taken. I later found out she was taken by a man named Overhaul, but I don't know what happened after that, replied Izuku. His face as blank, but his body language became more tense. The 3 adults in the room also tensed up. This small going sweet girl had been tortured by a horrible man. He had killed Sir Nightai. If only he had seen her, thought Aizawa, then these two would have been reunited sooner. And what happened to your parents, asked Aizawa. Izuku was like his child. He was a proven child, yes. But he was his problem child. They died when she was 2. I was 9 at the time. I'm bad at math, so I don't know if this is correct. Erie had gained her quirk early and had rewound our father. She had a quirk called rewind that allow her to rewind any living thing. Whether it's before they were born or by a year. Anyway, our mother didn't die, she just left us, replied Izuku. Now all the teachers could feel anger radiating off of him. Our mother called her a monster and tried to take me with her. I refused. I don't know what happened to her. The small girl shifted in his lap. He shaped out of his anger. He looked down at her and the tension in the room dropped drastically. He looked up again. He looked at all the teachers, but his gaze finally fell in Nezu. Is that all I need to take her home, said a slightly annoyed Izuku. One more question. What is your quirk? The room was quiet. No one made a sound for a few seconds. Nezu stared intently at Izuku. He saw conflict flicker in his eyes for a second. Until his face went back to being his famous dazzling smile. I don't know what you mean, sir. I am and always have been quirkless, he said. Aizawa and Heizashi were looking at Nezu. Both cared deeply for the boy, so they knew about the bullying he had received. Not all of it. If they had, they would have expelled everyone. Nezu kept contact with Izuku. He knew he had secrets. Many secrets. He didn't have a mother, or at least she wasn't registered. He had put a fake home number. He always walked home by himself. Though that's as normal considering he is 15. But they never met his mother. Somehow I believe that isn't true. Erie told us about the day she was taken. You left out the part about you, but she told us about it. Care to explain? Izuku remained silent. He had above this hand in his pocket. Nezu had only just noticed. But it was too late. The signal had already been sent. On no location. Code red blasted on the screen. Katsuo had just arrived with Alex Izzy at his tail. Songa had already accessed the communications. They could hear everything. Back at UA. Nezu made no move to show he had seen Izuku click the device. If he was correct and the boy did have a quirk, it was a strong one. To be able to not die from wreckage and not have a scar on you, well, he was certain it was a strong quirk. Nezu, I think we should believe the boy when he says he has no quirk, said a very confused Heizashi. Everyone knew Izuku didn't have a quirk. So why couldn't the principal accept that? He was supposed to be smart after all. Yes, problem child would never lie. He's horrible at it, said a very annoyed Aizawa. He just wanted to go home and sleep. Ah yes, Izuku says he has no quirk, but don't you two wonder how he survived the wreckage? And if he does in fact have a quirk, which I believe he does, he would be forced to have kept it secret his entire life because of how strong it is, said Nezu. He had taken a couple of steps closer to Izuku. Izuku shifted. Careful not wake a sleeping Erie, though nothing could awake her once she was asleep and she felt safe. Everyone in the small control room was in shock. This small rodent-like creature was figuring it all out. They continued to listen to what was going on in the office. Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Erie had a wild imagination. Yes, there was wreckage, but I was knocked out before I could get hit by anything. I assure you I have no quirk, Izuku stated. He was beginning to panic. By now the other two adults had sensed that panic. But I don't think that's true. I believe you got a quirk at the age of 4 or so, went to the quirk doctor who told you to keep it a secret because of how powerful it was, and you played the part well. You played the quirkless boy. Even if it sacrificed everything, you did it to keep others safe. The room was silent again. The teachers could feel the fear emitting from the small boy. Aizawa and Heizashi were in shock. It can't be true, it can't. This boy then one together both trusted had lied to them. They could understand why, but hey, could he not have trusted them with the secret? It hurt to know that the boy they thought of as a son did not trust them. So tell me, Izuku, what is your quirk? I will say this again. I do not have a quirk, stated Izuku. Now he was just telling, annoyed. The tellingly fear now was replaced by a growing annoyance. Don't lie. I know you have a quirk, so why won't you tell us? You can't trust us. I don't know why this sounds like a horror movie, replied Nezu. He knew there was something about him. Even before he accepted his application. This boy had many secrets and he wanted to know them. The silence was a painful thing to hear. Which is weird because when it's silent you can't hear anything. No one spoke. Erie had still not awoken. What felt like eternity, which in reality was a minute past. Heizashi broke the silence. I don't know what to believe, but me and Shota have always thought of you as a son, Izuku. We care for you. If you're in any type of danger, please tell us. We are here to help. But you have to help us first. So please, if you have a quirk, tell us. The pain in his voice was strong. Izuku felt guilt building up. He found it nice that these two people he cared for deeply, though of him as a son. He thought of them as fathers. A father he had never had. Aizawa would never admit it, but he was sad. It hurt to know that this kid was hiding something. Even though he had only known him a little over a year, he cared for him. I'm sorry that you believe I have a quirk or that I am in danger, but I am not, and I do not have a quirk. Now I believe this meeting has gone on long enough. I have to out this little one in bed. Izuku stood up. He heaved Erie onto his back. He felt anger boiling. Why is she so light? Even I know this is not healthy. He made his way to the door. He was about to open it before he was trapped in a scarf. He was pulled back. His vision had become a bit hazy from shock, but as he regains balance he saw. He was surrounded. Erie had woken up. She knew she had to keep quiet. Her big red eye looked at those standing around her and her brother. She felt fear. She knew she shouldn't have trusted these heroes. She should have lied. Izuku knew he was surrounded. He also knew that the three on the other side had heard the entire conversation. All the big heroes. Valid, Midnight, Cementos, Eraspis Genestept, Ectoplasm, even All Might surrounded him. Now Izuku, we know you are learning. We know that you have a quirk, so please just tell us, said Nezu. Peace young mind Oya, we are heroes, we will help you. Yes problem child, we will. You just have to tell us little listener and we will let you go. Izuku stood up from the floor. Erie had climbed off of his back. She gripped his hand. He glared at the mouse in front of him. This. Are the teachers? Take a few steps back. Here was the nicest, kindest, sweetest kid in the whole school who everyone though could never hurt a soul, glaring at the principal. The glare sent shivers down their spines. It was a cold glare, one that made you forget that the boy who wore it was the sweetest one they knew. I will say this again and again for that last time, I do not have a quirk. I am quirkless, he said, his voice rising. The principal only stared back at him smiling. Somehow I don't find that true. Shatter in the dark room far away from you. Three people listened in on the conversation. When they hear what the principal at the school has said, they knew they could not help him. He was on his own. He might be able to come up with an excuse, but if they came and got him, it would just confirm his theory. At UA no one's paused still. No one spoke. Everyone was in dead shock. It couldn't be true. He couldn't be the vigilante. The one who was feared. No, he was too sweet. They told themselves too innocent. But they still questioned it. Nezu didn't lie. He was the smartest being. But they also knew Izuku was smart too. Yeah, he wouldn't do something so reckless as to become a vigilante. Right? Thoughts raced through Izuku's head. The principal had known. He had known all along. He had probably known about the device in his pocket. He probably said his suspicion so the other would hear and would never be able to help. Clever bastard. But no, the only way out of the situation was to either try and convince them he didn't have a quirk or use his quirk. One was impossible since Nezu had gotten it into their minds he had a quirk. And the other. No, he would never do that. He would always remain a vigilante. I guess he would just have to play it dumb. That would work. Right? I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. Me be the most feared vigilante possible. Me have a quirk. Now you are just offending me. Do you know how much bullying I went through because I was quirkless? My mom beat me for crying out loud. And if I was the most feared vigilante on Japan, why would I be here helping you? Izuku shot back. He knew it was a weak attempt, but he needed to get out of here and fast. Erie was one shock, but she had to play it cool, as people said. She had to keep her mouth shut. At all costs. The teachers looked sad. Aizawa was fuming. How dare someone hurt him? I will kill them. He was lucky he was good at hiding his emotions. Unlike Heizashi, who was muttering death threats. Well, I know about you home situation. Former home sir, interrupted Izuku. He hates being related to that woman. He hates how she treated Erie and him. Former home situation, but I know you are not living with her anymore. How I know that is because your mother Izuku is dead. The room grew quiet again. Izuku stood there in shock. Then he smiled at Erie, who was laughing. Well, that's a relief. She tried to push Erie of a plane once and she threw a toaster in the bath while I was in it. She was a monster, replied Izuku. He could not be happier. Well, okay, anyway. I would like to offer you a deal. Why don't you stay with Shota and Heizashi along with Erie and your three other companions, but in exchange you have to tell us you quirk and if you really are Shatter, said Nezu. He was having so much fun. He loved playing with people. Humans were so fun to play with. I will decline that off of mostly because I do not have a quirk and I am not Shatter. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that. Now let me go, Izuku said. He had ran out of patience. Just how Nezu wanted him to. As Izuku turned to leave, he was met by every pro except Aizawa and Yamada. All Might was up front. He was about to say something when Izuku bolted to the window. Just as he was about to jump, he grabbed Erie. All the teachers screamed to him. He didn't care. He jumped. He fell. He was inches from the ground when he landed on a soft cloud of air. The heroes watched from above. They saw a small back device in his hand. It decreased and increased air pressure. He jumped. Mind you, he was like 7 inches in the air, not too high. He bolted into the darkness. The shadows moving around him like cover, and he was gone in a blink of an eye. Screaming. All he heard was screaming. All he was the darkness closing in on a blurry picture. Then the screams were louder, and then we're gone. He awoke. His black hair lay a mess. He was surrounded by candles. A drawing of a circle lay around him. A book lay on the floor. He wiped sweat from his face. He sat up. He looked at the clock. 5 a.m. Not bad. He began to clean up the materials. He blew out all the candles. A bird landed on his head. It squawked. Yes, I know, ready, and I know you hungry. Give me a minute. The bird squawked again. It flew off of his head and onto a shelf. He finished picking up. He put the book under the bed. His bookshelf was too full to hold the other 30 he had. The cover read, "The Spiritual Walking." It was elegantly written on the book. He smiled. He always came up with names for his books. He left his room. The dream left forgotten. As the door shut, a low white light shone under the bed. The book opened. It opened to a page. A low glowing white light came from the bottom of the page. It read, "Whatever you see in the future shall be what to come." The words faded. A small drop of red ink dripped down the page. It fell to the floor. There were whispers. The saying softly, "3 shall witness the fall of the one they love. 1 shall." The ink ran under the wall. The trail disappearing along with it. Ugh, why does that darn vigilante always have to interfere? He's so annoying. Ugh, an angry blue-haired man with a hand on his face paced around it. Another one of his plans failed due to that Shatter and his Pitfall gang. Blackout managed to confuse Toga, and the little sound wave drove off the dobby. Shatter, 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 Shatter. It's always him messing with my plans, always him. I will kill him, make the other watch. Yes, that's what I'll do. Yes. Make those around him suffer. Yes. He calmed down from the screaming. He walked out. As he did, a small trail of red ink made its way under the wall. It sang, "1 shall be the fall of the," and it slipped under the wall again. The room was now empty and silent. "Hey, watch it, that hurts," cried a small green-haired boy. He was sitting on a stool. White bandages wrapped around his waist. It had been a few days since he left the meeting. He had not bothered to show up since. Alex Izzy sat next to him. She had bandages wrapped around her arms and stomach. Songase next to her, burns littered her body. She had a dream on them while Katsuo tried to heal the rest. He was now busy on Izuku, who had very bad scraps. He had almost lost his finger. And he had a large wound on his head. "Well, it's not my fault you decide to fight," Anomu said, a very exasperated Katsuo who was very worried about his friend. Izuku had become more reckless, probably due to the fact someone knew his identity. "Hurry up, I'm hungry." "Katsuo, can you cool Plus asked Alex Izzy. She used her puppy dog eyes. Fine, can I help please?" asked a small bored girl. She wore a bunny onesie. "After we get you dressed." Sure. The group left. The room now empty save for Izuku. He looked around, and had he walked on the door, red ink dripped under the wall. The whispering came back. "And I shall fall into the depths of darkness where his sacrifice shall not be in vain." Yue had not been the same since Izuku left. Correction. The teachers at Yue missed him. None of the students really cared. He was quirkless. There were only 2 students who were upset. Shoto Todoroki and Hitoshi Shinso. Both had been closer to him than most of the class. None of the teachers took it well when they saw him leave. Especially Aizawa and Yamada. They cared for the boy. He was always there at the right time. Aizawa would never admit that he cared for the problem child. He was too damn stubborn. But he did care. The teachers took a look at Izuku's real reports. It took some digging, but they managed to find a great deal of information. Izuku Midoriya. Age, 16. Date of birth, July 15 XXX. Quirk, quirkless. Mother, Inko Midoriya, deceased. Father, Hisashi Midoriya, whereabouts unknown. Siblings, Erie Midoriya adopted. Erie Midoriya. Age: 7. Date of birth, December 21 XXX. Quirk, rewind, lets the user rewind any living thing back. Mother, unknown. Father, unknown. Adopted mother, Inko Midoriya deceased. Siblings, Izuku Midoriya. Is that really all you got on them? Asked a very annoyed Midnight. She was looking at the files. It had taken the 3 days to find all of this info. All of them only for 2 hours of sleep. These 2 children were orphans. Yes, this is all we got. It seems that they did a pretty good job hiding the information. I had to call in some favors to get this," said Nezu. He was only awake because of his tea. Every teacher had bags under their eyes. All of a sudden there was a knock at the door. A deflated All Might walked to the door, opened it. There was a hushed conversation. Soon the door was opened all the way. The person at the door was male. He had black hair and wore a black mask on his face. He seemed around the age of 16 and was quite tall. "I do not own this." The boy also seemed to have a crow on his shoulder. The boy stepped in. He held a small package in his hand. He walked past the pro-heroes to the principal. All the heroes looked at him with suspicion. Puff. I walked past the pro-heroes. Their eyes on me the entire time. I held the envelope Izuku have me. He had told me to bring it to the principal. I did as I was told. I don't like listening to authority. I'm a lone person, but when I'm around the others I feel happy, so I do what they tell me. Sometimes. Gideon sat on my shoulder. He is my familiar. I make my way to the desk. The day seems to have pulled a cup of tea out of nowhere. I set the envelope on his desk and bow. "What's in the envelope/package?" asked Vald. I turned towards them. I looked directly at Vald. "That is none of your concern. He will tell you if you wants to," I said, pointing at Nezu. I'm almost at the door when a voice calls me. "I think it's time we had a chat." The air was still. No one made a sound. The young black-haired boy stood at the door. The thoughts in his head were going at 1,000. One thought was the most repeated. "Fucking Nezu? You stupid rat with a high IQ. No wonder the readers hate you. Fucking bitch." The room remained silent for a few more seconds. Then a cloth was wrapped around the boy. He was pulled into the circle of teachers now starting to form. It was like a cult. Damn, this is a sacrifice ritual. And I'm the sacrifice. Suddenly windows shattered. A low hum could be heard. The cloth was loosened. And it soon was empty. All the teachers in the room were dumbfounded. How had the vigilantes managed to get here so fast? Then they noticed. An elegant black crow flew into the room through one of the no-broken windows. It landed on the shower of the boy, or well now known as Crow. 2 girls entered. Soundwave and Blackout. Reminder of what Soundwave's vigilante costume looks like. I do not own this. This is Blackout's outfit. Then something green entered the room. He wore all green. The teachers stood there stunned. Aizawa was also shocked, and he had seen this guy multiple times, but what shocked him the most was how he never noticed the similarities. The same green eyes. The hair. The body shape. His posture. His eyes closed a bit. The full green was bright. And it was at that moment he realized. His sweet, love, caring, wouldn't hurt a fly student was the cowboys standing before him. He now knew Nezu was right. He knew. Shatter and Izuku are the same person. The ground was paved on blood. The small alleyway was filled with screaming. Not like any unheard. A girl stood over a woman. She had a knife in her hand. 4 other bodies littered the floor. Blood spilling out of them. The girl liked the knife. She smiled. "Your blood is delicious," she said. Her cat-like eyes opening. She wore an insane smile. She giggled. A black misty hole opened up in the behind her. A man who bore any scars stored though. "Can you hurry up, psycho? I don't want handyman beaching," he said. Okay, I guess I'll just have to finish this more quickly than I wanted to." She giggled. The woman under her had tears in her eyes. A small sob raked her body before. Silence. Blood flowed from the wound on her neck. The girl made her way to the black mist with a skip. She skips through blood dripping from the knife she held in hand. The other man followed suit. They stepped out into a dingy bar. The girl made her way to A. and who had light blue hair and a hand on his face. Hi Shiggy, how have you been?" The man turned his head to her. A red eye could be seen through the fingers of the hand on his face. He glared at the girl. "Go clean up, Toga, you're getting blood all over the floor," he said in a raspy voice. His hand made its way to his neck. He started to scratch it. "Master Shigaraki, I will advise you to stop scratching your neck. And Mrs. Toga, could you please go upstairs and wash up? There is quite a bit of blood dripping from your cloths and knife," said a man. He wore a suit and had a piece of metal around his neck. He looked to be made of black mist. Toga giggled. Her response to his demand was a nod. She skipped towards the door. The man with the stars exited after her, scowling at the blood. He had always hated messy jobs. "Master Shigaraki, you must start planning. The attack is only in a few days, and please stop scratching your neck." Shigaraki scowled. He glared at the mist man. "Be quiet, Krujiri, I have already begun the attack. Those pesky heroes will never know what hit them." 6 people gathered around a table. A picture of UA in the table along with what looked like construction plans. A TV on side was on. It was listening to everything the 6 said. The man behind the TV grinned. His protege had managed to get himself this far. It was only a matter of time before the attack. The discussion on the attack was going well. They had a solid plan. They had managed to call in the rest of the troops. Stronger nomes were being made. They were ready. The attack would take place in only a few days. All the heroes would fall in the world with to come to the rule of the villains. All that was in the way was that pesky vigilante. His quirk with strong, it would prove a problem. But it was nothing they couldn't handle. They were ready. He was ready. The world would be theirs. Reality would bend to the wills. They would rule everything. The world. The people. And with his quirk. Reality itself. The room was quiet. Vibrant green eyes traveled over all the teachers. It was now quite obvious that he had a quirk. This wasn't just pure skill. His eyes glowed. Aizawa did the only thing he could do. He cancelled the quirk. The green light died down. Though the gaze was still cold and hard. The room was oddly cold. "You don't need to wear your goods anymore, you can't take them off," said an annoying little rodent man. The group exchanged gazes. And slowly they began to reveal what they looked like. "Okay, I can't do pictures anymore, sorry, so I will just describe them." A girl with pupilish/pinkish hair stood her to them. He black good was down. She honestly looked sweet. The only thing that rolled away that sweetness was the black mist floating around her and her black eye. The next had long brown hair with white tips. She had silver-colored eyes with dashes of green in them. And the last one. They held their breaths for. I already knew Gatei looked like, they just citing want it to be true. His hands pushed away the hood. They recognized the boy who lay under it. His bushy green hair was the same, the only difference was the black streaks. His bright green eyes were almost the same, except now they were a toxic green. He had a scar above his eye. Nobody moved. Then a low rumble came. It shook the whole building. The teachers looked at the 4 teens. Their faces gave them the answer. They were confused as well. The teachers made their way to the window. And to the horror they saw. Hundreds of Nomu. They were storming UA. In the lead was a man. He had pale blue hair. A hand on his face. Beside him was a girl with knives and a man with a black and grey mask. On his other side was a man with spoke black hair and a man with marble. "I'm sorry I can't explain, Mr. Compress." A black mist surrounded the group. Behind the leader and his squad lay thousands of villains. It was war. And they were not prepared. Okay, well damn. I never thought I would get tagged. I guess I have to do something now. Anyways, the person who tagged me was Tasty French Fries, so go check them out. Their stories are really good. Anyway, my hobbies are either writing or drawing. I have a lot of favorite songs. If I had to choose one into right now, it would be Friends on the Other Side by Thomas Sanders or Duality by Set It Off. My cat who died last year. No. A few. No. I hate math. Either art or law, English language art. Chicago, Ill. May. I'm not a sporty person. I don't like doing them nor watching them. Yes and no. I try and eat healthy, but I love junk food. You can't buy humans. But you can buy organs. And those cost a lot of money. No. Yes, but my art sucks. If you're talking about classes, 0 at the moment because I'm on summer vacation. But usually 5. No. Single. Thousands of villains swarmed the grounds. Students ran in different directions. Screams filled the air. Smoke started to cover the sky. Pros form all over it were rushing records the area. The teachers in the principal's office stared in horror. The villains and the gnomes were destroying everything. Some broke away from the main group and began attacking the civilians and buildings. The From Hate was demolished. All the alarms were going off. The heroes rushed out of the room, leaving the 4 teens there. They had completely forgotten about them. The teens in the room were horror-struck. Katsuo had used his quirk to put his suit on. Too lazy to find a pic, all you could tell that he had on was a black cloak. The cloak was created from his magic. His crow Gideon flew around his head, bolting for the window. 3 of the teens looked at the one eye and a green hoodie. His eyes were glowing. A small pocket opened up in the middle of the room. Edu hopped out. She was scared. She had been able to see what was going on while the teachers had not seen her. She was terrified. She knew her brother was going to fight. She was scared he wasn't going to come back. She was starting to panic. Izuku realized this and stooped down to her level. He brushed the hair away from her face. He hugged her. He then motioned to the pocket still open. She shook her head. "No, I want to stay with you, please Izumi, please," she said. Tears fell down her face. He lifted her up. She clung to him. "You can't, Erie. I don't want you to get hurt. Don't worry, I promise I will come back. You will watch the whole thing, but they won't be able to get you, okay?" he said. Her needed to hurry. He had to help the pros. Erie saw the panic in his eyes. She looked at the window. The fight had already begun. She turned to face Izuku. "You promise?" she said. "I promise." He set her down into the window, snapping his fingers to close it. She watched as he pulled up his hood. She watched him walk away. She followed him, running down the mimic of the UA hallway. He had promised her he would come back. He had promised. But 2 of the people running down the hallway's faces gave away a different answer, one that she could not see. They had both seen the future. Or at least part of it, and by how about that seen it, it looked like he might have to break the promise. Okay. So I wanted to ask you guys a question. It's about what story you would like me to write next. I have been getting into the Sandersides fandom. So I want you guys to decide what I should write next. All the My Hero Academia ideas have been up for a while. The other stories I will write, but the one you guys chose will be the one I focus on the most. This is only a few. I'm no wolf. Izuku is part of a peace treaty along with other cat breeds from every cat clan. He goes to a school filled with wolves disguised as an omega. What happens when a villain tries to use his alpha voice and all Izuku does is laugh? Wonderland. Izuku had a quirk, he just kept it hidden. It was a quirk that would drive you mad. The villains heard about it. They wanted it. But they found it in the boy. What will happen when he uses it in battle? Let me go. Izuku is depressed. He had tried to die many times. He has failed at all of them. Will Class 1A be able to help him, or will he succeed in his next attempt? The other world. Izuku lived in another world for 2 months, or for him many years. He must leave. What happened when he meets his friend? What happened if the past comes to haunt them? How will they fight the demons from the other side? We don't fit. 3 sides. 2 almost forgotten, the other unwanted. The light sides don't want Virgil. They verbally abuse him, and sometimes it gets physical. Jealousy and depression are not wanted by the dark sides because they are instead they are beaten and forgotten. These 3 are friends. All they want is a happy life. They are willing to build it at any cost. But that happy life comes with a lot of hardships. Will those hardships destroy their dream? How will the past come into play? They don't know. Anxiety. Part of Thomas Sanders. The side that keep his host safe. The side that made sure he double-check everything. The side that made him more aware. The side who was considered the bad guy. He used to be someone else. Something else. What happened when the sides get curious and look through his room? What if they find an old picture of him? What if it isn't truly anxiety in the picture but someone he hides to be? These are just a few stories I have. If you don't know what Sanders Sides is, I suggest you check it out. Thomas Sanders vids are really good. And if you watch them you will understand the last 2 books more. Smoke filled the air. All of Class 1A and 1B were outside. They knew they were heavily outnumbered. Even Bakugo was worried, though he did not show it. Pro heroes were arriving every second, though most were unable to due to the fact that the villains had caused problems all over, which caused most pros to be busy. Villains were taking their own sweet time, fighting every hero that came into their path. Every hero they fought fell either dead or severely injured. The smell of burning was everywhere. There were thousands of dead civilians. Nomus had ripped them apart. The main group up front was protected from the violence. The Warpate had hidden himself somewhere. The students had now run as to their numbers. 4 of the other classes were there, mostly from the support course. A few of the mental quirks people from the general studies were also there, with included Shinso. The support course students had brought everything they could, which included a sticky pink goo that would not harm anyone but was incredibly sticky. The robots from the exams were let out. They were there as a way to help the students gain cover and make it harder for the villains. Unfortunately, it also made it harder for the students, but they could work around that. The students turned at the sound of feet. Midnight, Present Mike, Eraserhead and a few other pros had arrived. There were only a few, not enough, but they would help. Principal Nezu had stationed himself in a tech room, where he had hacked all the cameras and some tech to help the heroes gain an advantage. He was smart enough, their chances were low. But he knew help would be there soon. The boy had an incredibly strong quirk. He would make an amazing hero, or would have. He was smart, some would say. He could not predict the future, but he could make the best guess, and there was a chance the boy would not make it out alive. He had heard the promise he had made to his sister, but he had also seen his face. It was the look of someone who was trying to convince themselves that they were doing the right thing. That they had not just lied. That lie, though it could also not be a lie, might be the last thing he ever said to his sister. The principal shook his head. This was a battle they had to win. Its sacrifices have to be made. But was it right to be someone's life? They wouldn't know until they found out. He shifted through the camera footage. He sighed. There would be many deaths today. He already saw the thousands of civilians, and the numbers were still rising. It was so or die. He opened up a file. It had a sequence on it. The words "Are you sure?" were written on the bottom. Yes. A countdown appeared written in big red letters where the words "Self-destruct sequence" indicated. Time, 10 o'clock min. The final battle had begun. Nezu left the room. He had a small device ready to deactivate the sequence when they were sure they would not lose their precious information. But little did they know they would lose a lot more than just information. Okay, note the vote will end on Sunday, which is when I will post the next chapter. The 4 teens made their way outside. They hoped they had not taken too long. The school was overrun with villains, meaning they had to fight their way through them just to get outside. Izuku was already tried. He had to push at least 30 Nomu into pockets of reality. Katsuo was bleeding from the nose. Alexizzy was almost passed out, and Songa was bleeding from cuts on her hands and face and eyes. They were still alive though. Once they got outside, their injuries looked like paper cuts. Civilians lay all around. They had been destroyed long ago. Lower pro heroes were dead. Most of the robots that the support course students had were destroyed. Some of the support course students were dead. The smell of burning flesh was in the air. Class 1A was still fighting. Class 1B was nowhere to be seen. All that stood in the villain's way was a bunch of teens and a handful of heroes. All Might was God knows were fighting all for one. In this, All Might did not lose one for all, yet, there were no news people. The army was down. All of Japan was under lockdown. Japan armies were either helping the remaining civilians/injured pros or fighting minor villains. Most people had run. No one was coming. It was up to them. Even though this was a battle, Izuku needed a nice clean line or group to use his quirk to do the most damage, so he had to make a big of an entrance. Izuku instructed Katsuo to give Alexizzy a stamina and strength option, which he did. Now all there had to do was get their attention. Okay, so I'm just going to say this right now, this was what the whole story was built upon. I only had imagined this part in my head, so I'm so excited to get to it. All right, that's all. The sound of clapping was heard. Class 1A and the pros turned along with the villains, who looked towards where the noise was coming from. To their shock, they saw 4 teens walking toward them. They looked battered, but other than that they were in good condition. The villains were absolutely pissed. They had heard about this group. They were all powerful, more powerful Afghan, most pros, especially the one who was clapping. His eyes glowed. The green of the glow made him even more intimidating. They were walking towards the villains. The boy in green clapping. Well, if it isn't the famous Shatter, what do we owe the pleasure?" said a raspy voice. A man with a hand in his face soared through the crowd. 2 people were behind him. If you looked closely enough, you could see the wicked smile on his face. His red eyes alight with excitement and insanity. The boy stopped clapping. "Well, you did start a war, Shigaraki, and you expect me not to show up?" "Wow," the boy said. The heroes in training looked at him. This boy, the one who looked honored than them, was the famous vigilante Shatter. Well, this war was not only meant to create chaos but to also draw you out. "You see, you have a very powerful quirk and I have to wait to get it," said Shigaraki. He was loving this. The chaos, the violence, the war, he loves it all, and it only made it better that he showed up. "And what are those ways of getting my quirk?" Shigaraki asked Izuku, glaring at Shigaraki, who in turn laughed at him. "Well, you could always join us. Become a villains, make the bowls now down to you. Have all the power you have ever dreamed of, but in turn you have to help us finish the war," said Shigaraki. He would make do on that promise. Never he just wanted Izuku quirk. "Or we will just kill you and take your quirk from your during body and then slowly let you die," he said, laughing like it was the funniest thing ever. Izuku looked like he was thinking about it when he actually was planning the attack. "How about no? To both. I mean, the only way you would get my quirk is if you survive a fight with me, and that is a very low chance," Izuku said, his eye almost close tight to them being in slits. It was almost his time to strike. You make things so difficult. I was trying to be nice, but you know what, sides being nice. Let's end this. No more cat and mouse, no more," cried Shigaraki, the villains behind him getting ready to strike. The 4 teens all looked to be getting ready to fight. Then everything started to collapse. All the students looked amazed. The forest was being razed. The villains in front of it were falling. The world started to look like glass. It was as though they were in another dimension. "You cheated. You can't do that," shouted an angry Shigaraki. He was falling, but at the same time not falling. Gravity did not work. He was impressed by this boy's quirk, no matter how made he was. He couldn't wait for his master to possess it, then nothing would stand in his way. The students and pros looked to where the angry villain was shouting. There they saw the masked green vigilante standing there. His hand raised. "It's not cheating, I just made the first move," said the vigilante. His eyes were now glowing extremely bright. The other three around him were in shock. Unlike the students, they knew Geto would happen. Izuku rarely used his. It was dangerous, his chance of dying was higher. That fact was ignored by him. He knew the risk. He was willing to take it. He looked towards his companions, he nodded to them. They leaped into battle. Every risk was left forgotten. Everyone pushed their quirk to their limit. Sadly, the warnings were not noticed. They did not notice his eyes glowing a more vibrant green. They did not notice the blood that ran from his lips. Nobody noticed, not even Izuku himself. Maybe if he did, if they all did, the battle would have turned out different. So I'm procrastinating writing the 29th chapter. I just don't have any good ideas for it. I'm trying to get it out by next Friday. If you haven't figured it out yet, that will be the final chapter of the story. I know some people will want another chapter or a different ending or a seconded book. I will birthday this now. The chances of a seconded book are really slim. I have other stories to write and other things to do. I'm happy with how I'm going to need the story. So yes, the 29th chapter is the last one. But for right now, here is a special chapter from after Izuku took Erie home. Izuku Pov. I opened the door to the base. I was not surprised to find Aizawa standing there. Songa seemed to have disappeared while Katsuo seemed to be in the kitchen by the sound of it. Aizawa gave off a very loud squeal, and grabbed Erie into a bear hug. Songa fell down the stairs in her excitement. It had been years since they had seen Erie. Katsuo silently joined the best hug, a soft smile making its way to his face. They stayed like that for a while. I smiled at the scene in front of me. 2 hours later, after dinner, a beautiful cake was presented to Erie. It was a welcome home cake. It had orange buttercream frosting with edible pink flowers. Good stuff dusted the middle layer. It was a strawberry milk chocolate cake flavor. It had taken Katsuo only 2 hours to make it with the help of his quirk. Edu cried when she saw it. She had not have cake in tears, she was so happy. She was happy to be home with her family. She was happy to be in a place she could call home and was surrounded by people who loved her. 4 hours later, the gang had just finished their movie marathon. Izuku and Erie got home around 3, though it was only a few movies due to Erie being so young and having a bedtime. Erie said her goodnights and accompanied Izuku to the bathroom. Izuku grabbed a few makeup wipes. Erie had played princesses with Songa and Aizawa. They had done her makeup and put her in a dress. They had played for an hour before dinner. Izuku wiped the makeup off of Erie, who was already starting to fall asleep. He noticed this and picked her up bridal style so she wouldn't get herself hurt. He entered her room. I had been redecorated by the girls. Yes, it's an image form online. The colors can be what you want. It was a nice cozy room. He laid her down. She was already asleep, having had a hectic day. He smiled at her. A single year fell down his face. She had finally returned to them. She was home. He kissed her head. He stood up. He opened his palm and let the sweet sound of the forest echo from it. He made a nice glowing ball. It looked like a mini galaxy. He set it on the side table. He smiled down at his little sister, who was finally safe. He closed the door, leaving his sleeping sister safe and warm. This is the end of the movie. Skshnpai out.